Hey YouTube, welcome back to Simple Acre Homestead. My name is Bert, and today is a busy day. It's actually the first day of my vacation this week, so you'll probably see my face pop up more on YouTube than it has been recently. So, where to start? It's already warm. My morning has flown by. I got so much stuff I want to get done, as everybody does, right? So, what I've done so far today, this is a pretty big deal for us. I went and picked up a covered trailer, and got that right behind me here. So this bad boy is hopefully dual purpose for us. We tried to purchase something that we could use for storage and to move animals around or anything else we might need that we could get the most out of the money. So one of the things we were concerned about this winter with the goats and the pasture pigs and the rabbits was having enough hay, and where were we going to keep the hay, because our garage is fairly tied up. So, and I honestly don't want to stuff it full of stuff that I can't get around and get everything I need. So the idea is we're going to store the hay in this trailer, and when we're not using it for that, we have the ability to pick up animals or lumber or anything that we would need a larger trailer for. So this thing is like 7 by 14, 16 if you count the nose on the front. So that's pretty exciting for us today. Now, moving on to something different, I have something else I want to show you guys that is also exciting around the homestead today. Well, actually, this past week. I'll give the camera a chance to adjust to the lighting in here. And I'll turn the light on. And apologize for my not so crafty camera work. So you guys know we have the quail here. And this week, these guys are just over 7 weeks old now. And we are getting quail eggs. So we have received from these guys the gift of about 1 to 2 a day right now, this past 3 or 4 days. And so we're eventually going to incubate them, but for now we're just using them until we get enough on a daily basis that we can accumulate enough to get the incubator going. So sometime this week I need to sex these guys and get them over to the egg production cage, and I'll probably bring you guys along for that as well. But yeah, it's pretty exciting for us. We actually had to separate some of the quail. These tuxedo colored quail, for some reason, took a bit of a beating last week. I don't know why, if they cut themselves or what happened, but with any kind of poultry, the color red, it's a trigger, and it causes all the birds to attack. Basically, any kind of weakness or a sick bird, the other birds will attack it until it's dead. So we did have one quail last week that we took out of the cage because the others had attacked it so badly that it was missing part of its scalp. And so I put some red coat on it and put it in the lower cage with the other one that was also bleeding a bit. But I think the other one might have just cut itself, but I can't even be sure what happened. But all I do know is it caused a big rift in the little quail cage here. So we did separate a few of them. So now all the Egyptian pharaohs are by themselves on the top, and the tuxedo looking quail are on the second row here. The Egyptian pharaoh colored quail are very easy to sex based on color. The tuxedo not so much, but there are a couple different methods that we can use to sex them this week. And when I go to do that, I will try to show everybody. Yeah, I'm also new to it. I had an acquaintance, a friend down the road that showed me how to do it. So we'll get to that at some point. But my plans for today do not involve moving the quail. I need to. There's the bunnies for anybody that's curious. And my love down there in the very bottom shelf has a nest box Let me just flip the viewfinder around so I can see what I'm showing you guys. And I don't know if she's got any babies in there just yet, but I do see that she is pulling fur, so we should be very close. If not, oh no, I see movement. Actually, she has already had her babies. So that's exciting news. This is the second opportunity for my love to have babies. We're going to see how it goes this time. The last time that she, bring you guys back around here. The last time she had babies, unfortunately, I don't know if it was just, I can't be sure if she was a first-time mom or not, because we didn't have these guys from kits, but she ended up eating a couple of them, which could have been that they were sick. It could have been that she was scared. It could have been just not being too sure what to do. So this is her second attempt at having a litter with us anyway, and we're hoping, fingers crossed, that she turns out to be a good mom. Otherwise, well, I got you guys in here, you have to check out these little guys, because they are just cute as a bundle. There's a few different ones here. These are all the Holland Lops that we raise to sell for pets. As you guys already know, on the homestead here, we also raise a mix of California and New Zealand meat rabbits for our own consumption, and to sell a few. Not everybody wants to hear about that kind of thing, but reality is it is part of our food source here. So guys, what I keep meaning to get to here is today I plan to pick grapes. Our grapes are ripe. If I don't get them, the bugs are going to destroy them soon. So, and the birds, everything, you know, just nature in general. So I am going to pick those today. My wife Cindy, as you guys know Cindy from the other videos, she went to my mother-in-law's and brother-in-law's yesterday and picked their grapes and brought them home. And my hope is to make some wine. We make various wines here on the homestead, because like everything else, not that we're big drinkers, but we don't like to buy anything that we don't have to buy. We want to be self-sufficient in as many ways as we can, and making wine is one of them. So I will take you through the basic steps of that, and I have to dig out my destemmer, my crusher. So I'm going to break this video up into pieces. You're going to see it jumping around a bit, because I don't want to drag you guys through everything, but in a few minutes I will show you that I'm taking the grapes off. I will dig out all the equipment I need and kind of walk you through it a little bit. And in case anybody wants to start doing their own, it's very easy to do. It just takes a bit of time and a little bit of effort, but I'll bring you back to the camera in a few minutes when I get my pails, my snips, and get out there cutting those grapes off. All right guys, see you in a bit. All right, I'm back guys. Let me just double check that you guys can still hear me. I think my microphone isn't charged as well as it could be. All right, so here in the area that we live in southwestern Ontario, there are a few varieties of grapes that you can grow, but one that we actually grow here on our homestead is Concord grapes. So we have all of the blue or purple, whichever way you want to look at it, colored Concord. We are trying to plant some white, but I won't lie to you, I don't know whether they're going to take or not, because the last few days we've had a little issue with the goats getting out, and unfortunately they've chewed those grapes, those new grapes, down to just the stem. So I'm hoping they'll come back. So I got my trusty Falco Snips here. Highly recommend Falco if anybody is looking for a good pair of snips. They're, I believe they're Swiss made. Yes, they are. They are Swiss made, says right on them. And you can adjust them, tighten them up as they get dull, etc., etc. And they work very well for pruning. So just to give you a close up here, this is not a very big bunch, but they're just a bluish purple Concord. I believe they may also be referred to as a fox grape. But anyway, I'm going to work my way along the grapevine here, and cut all these grapes out. I'll bring you back when I start destemming. I'll try to make this as informative but as easily to digest as possible. All right, see you guys. All right, guys, I'm back here. See if I get this set up right. And I'm just working on getting my equipment out, so I gotta finish doing that. But I gotta wash it up real quick, crush the grapes, and press them. At that point, I will let them sit in the pail for a couple days, well, for a day or so. And I'm going to measure the specific gravity before I decide how much sugar to add and add yeast, etc. But I think last year I ended up adding about 4 cups for every gallon, 4 cups of sugar for every gallon to get the amount of sugar I felt I needed to make the batch work. So I will measure it this year and find out. But basically, I'm just showing you the basics, right? This is not a winemaking channel by any means. So I'm just kind of giving you a little, if you're thinking about doing it, just a little bit of an insight as to how you can start. Now I have some equipment here that isn't necessary. It's just, you know, I found it on a buy-sell site. So I snapped it up because I do make various wines, and I did have the grapes, and I wanted to try it. And after all, don't tell anybody, but Cindy is Portuguese, so there is a certain amount of wine drinking that goes on. But anyway, I'm gonna finish getting this out, clean it up, walk you through a bit of the process, and hopefully get this tied up today so that I can move on to some other projects here. But hopefully you guys can see a little bit of what's going on here, and we'll probably have to do some editing, but it's all part of the fun. I won't lie to you guys, I'm not super worried about how clean it is, sanitized. I mean, after all, the wine's going to go through a fermentation process. If there's a few bugs in there, it's just a little protein. We're not making a fine wine here. So for us, it does the trick. All right, so here we have our destemmer crusher. So I have the pail of grapes that I picked here, and I have some pails that came from my in-laws. And like I said, some of them are not pretty, but for the most part, it's not going to matter for what we're doing here. We're going to work on getting the stems off, because we might even let that spider out. But we're going to work on getting these stems off because the stems will add a bitterness to the wine. That's why we destem it. So all I do is turn this. This is crushing it. I still have to go back in here after it's crushed and pull out all the stems that I need to get out of this container. Okay guys, so as I was saying here, we're gonna pull all these stems out before we continue on, because it gets to be a bit of work if we don't. So we don't want any of these green stems in. So what I should do is find another pail here, because we can compost those or feed them to the animals here. So as I said, we're gonna pull these little stems as much as we can find. We'll throw the grapes back in. Now, you do not have to have this fancy equipment. You don't have to have a destemmer, a crusher. What you can use, actually, if you have a milk crate, of all things, if you have a milk crate, you can flip it over, run this stuff back and forth under your palm of your hand, and push the grapes through the holes on the bottom of the milk crate, and that will do the same thing. It was actually something I saw on another YouTube channel where they actually do focus on winemaking. Because unless you make stuff like this all the time, you really don't want to be investing a lot of money in the equipment. unless you can do what I did and find everything you want to have on your buy and sell sites. Right. Now I could fill this up more, but I'm just going to dump this in here now. What I'm going to do before I get too much further is get a pail under there. Because that would be a really large waste. Okay, so we'll carry on here. And we will just keep doing this until we get through all of our grapes. Now we have tried to make various wines since we started making wine out of different fruits that we have. We have made strawberry wine, we've made peach wine, we've made rhubarb wine, lemon wine, apricot wine, autumn olive wine, which we will probably show you at some point because we have a lot of autumn olives around our property. What else we got here? We made raspberry, of course the Concord we made last year. Pretty much anything we can make it out of that we've just tried various. Oh, dandelion was another. Tomato, yes, that's right too, tomato wine. There's so many things you can make wine out of. I mean, we have our favorites. I believe for Cindy it's the peach. For myself, I kind of lean toward the grape or the raspberry. I did like the lemon. The lemon is an interesting one. It's almost like if you're familiar with like a hard lemonade, it's very much like those little bottles you buy in the liquor store. And the kids are playing fairly close by, if you're wondering. You can hear them. They're not fighting. That's all we care. They're being nice to each other at the moment. It's hard for them to not be involved when we're doing this. They like to be involved in most of the things we do. So. Now there could even be an easier way to do this kind of stuff, guys. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have suggestions as to how we can destem faster. Not that we do so much that we have to worry about it, but you know, it's always nice to find easier ways to do things. Now, I try to do this as fairly quickly as I can because there will be some wild yeast in here. Now, I don't know how quickly it'll start working. Once I get this all put into its pails, I will actually put Campton tablets in here just to stop any wild yeast. I mean, if you want to go all natural, you can go that route. It's just a little harder to control, is my understanding. And I will put the Campton tablets in, kill any yeast or anything that's going on in these pails, and I will add yeast that I can, at the point I want to start. Okay, so I'm sure this is gonna get all edited and it's not gonna seem like a lot of work, but we went through all the grapes we had this year. I'm gonna get out of the sun here. We didn't have as many this year as we did last year, and last year we had about 160 pounds of grapes, which made roughly 60 bottles of wine, which worked out pretty well. This year, not so much for the grapes. I left them longer. Last year they weren't quite as sweet as I would have liked them to be, so I left them longer this year, which also meant we didn't get as many because the birds eat them, the kids eat them, the bugs get at them, etc., etc. So out of those 3-4 pails of grapes I had, after I destemmed them and put them through our crusher here, which is really overkill for what we're doing here, but I wanted to show you the equipment and show you what I would use normally if I had an abundance, which I don't this year, but I will probably still end up, it's not going to be a lot, but I will probably end up, I'm going to guess, with 8 to 10 bottles of wine out of this, so not nearly as much. So everything is crushed. It's a bit of a job getting enough wood in there because being that the grape cake, I believe they call it a cake, that is left over, there isn't going to be a lot of it, so it pushed down a long ways, right, because we didn't have a lot of grapes to work with. But as you can see, it's slowly dripping out into this pail, so I'm guessing there's maybe 2.5 gallons, 2 to 2.5 gallons in there. So you figure 4 to 5 bottles a gallon. We might get 10 bottles, but it'll be a fair bit of work for not a lot of reward, but it is also being self-sustaining and doing as much as you can. You're on as 10 bottles. I won't be buying at the store, not that I would anyway, but it's all part of the possibilities that you can have when you're growing under an acre. And now next year, hopefully we'll have more grapes. Like I said, we did plant additional vines as long as they come back, since Hank and Billy had a little... Billy, for some reason, has been getting out. I'm not sure how he's doing it. We have a 4-foot electric fence around them, and he finds a way around. I thought he was going under the fence by eating along the fence and, you know, lifting it up with his horns. He may be jumping over it. We just actually haven't visually seen them get out yet to be able to correct the problem. But anyway, both of the Billy goats got out last night, Billy and Hank, and we come out this morning and they were just casually hanging out in the yard. They won't go far because they won't leave their girlfriend. Molly was in the pen still, but they did go far enough that they chewed down probably 4 to 5 grapevines to about a 1-foot stem out of the ground. So they will hopefully come back, but I would like to stop them from escaping, of course. So all I'm going to do now, as far as the wine goes, if I haven't lost everybody already in my rambling on here, is I'm going to take this all apart, clean it up, put it away again for next year. I'm going to take that wine, like I said, I'm going to let it sit for a little bit. I'm going to do a specific gravity measurement, and I'm going to get it, probably add enough sugar to get as close to about 1.9 as I can, 1.09. And when it's finished, it should finish around a 1. For anybody that has the equipment and works on wine, you know that already. But anybody that's going to try this out, there's simpler ways to do it if you want to get very natural. But I don't go that route. I do use, like I said earlier, a yeast, because you can control it easier. All the wild yeast, it works, but you may not get as high of an alcohol content. Not that you want a real high alcohol content in wine anyway, but you just can't gauge everything quite as easy unless you are a real, true, off-grid superstar. But for me, I don't have that skill set. So we're kind of doing this a little out of order here. If in the editing it looks a little funny. I thought I was finished recording, but I thought, you know what, let's bring you back. I am doing the cleanup portion that I had spoke about earlier. The cake that's left, the grape cake, I'm going to give that to the pigs, see how they like it. So I thought I could show you that. Otherwise, it's just cleaning up, right? So, like I said, I think we might have got 2.5 to 3 gallons of grape juice to work with. So I'll get that going this week. But back to this. I'm gonna clean this up real quick. I'm just gonna put in these pails, and I was going to compost it, but I think we'll see if the pigs like it. Looks like I probably could have squeezed these grapes a little more in the press here. There is still a fair bit of juice to them, but I was having a hard time, as you may have been able to tell in the video, because we didn't have very much. It was hard to get a good pressure on what we did have. So, and the best grape juice for the wine is actually the stuff that you don't have to press out. The more you have to press, the more you're going to get a bitterness to it too. Okay, so got the grapes, got our stems. Let's see how those KuneKunes like this. Okay. Hi guys. Hi guys. All right. All right, let me get in here. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right, out of the way, buddy. I'll give you some more. Gonna have purple faces. As they're eating, you guys be able to get a look at those tusks, especially on bacon here. These are a little more predominant, but let's see if I can zoom in there, or actually, can you get in there? Yeah. So bacon, being the dominant one, is being a little not willing to share the meal, at least not just yet. Chickens still get in there though. Alright guys, once again we're using something that we otherwise wouldn't have used, so looks like they're quite happy eating the leftover grapes, so that's good. That pretty much wraps it up. The rest is just washing the tools I used to make this happen, and putting everything back away. So as I always say, if you like this, please like it. If you don't mind subscribing, that's awesome too. If you don't mind sharing the video, that's another way to get the word out and get our channel exposure. So anything you want to do, we appreciate, and thank you for following us, guys.